वीडियो देखने से पहले हमारे इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर करें ताकि आप हमारे चैनल पर आने वाली हर वीडियो को सबसे पहले देख सकें।
Frontier, land of the fiercely independent and proud Pathans, a contrast of light and shade, of gaiety and tragedy, of romance and reality. A region marked by startling variations. This is the coveted gateway to the riches of India, the bone of contention between imperial powers for decades. East and West meet here, but without ever blending. The story of the frontier and its people has for long indeed been a romantic puzzle. On one side there are the fertile and beautiful plains of Peshawar and Mardan, the snow-clad mountains of Swat and Hazara, the groves of Shisham and the green expanse of young wheat interspersed with the rich and beautiful fruit orchards. And on the other, there are the flat barren plains of Bannu and Dera Ismail Khan, the rugged ravines and the desolate rocky hills of the territory that produce nothing but trouble. The Pathans have always drawn their strength from this rugged terrain and share the same features. No one personified this majesty better than Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Embodiment of love, fearlessness and determination. A magnificent man, truly royal in appearance and character. Frontier, now synonymous with this majestic man whose stature matched the tall mountains. Abdul Ghaffar Khan, affectionately called Badshah Khan, truly a king amongst men. A curious paradox. Saintly soldier, a non-violent Pathan, aptly famous as Frontier Gandhi. The story begins in the last decade of the 19th century. Son of a well-to-do landowner, Badshah Khan's childhood was spent like any other tribal adolescent. It was taken for granted that he would join the guides like other strapping youths. But destiny had other things in store for him.
He went to see a friend of his in Peshawar cantonment, and an English officer who was much younger in age, probably was a lieutenant, this fellow was a subedar or something, he was talking to him very rudely. So he said, how can I go to the army when this is the kind of treatment you get from your bosses? So he came, and then when he was going to London, that was fixed. When he went to get blessings of his mother, she started crying. He said, my one son has already gone there. What will I do if you also go away? And so he said, nothing, I won't go. He gave up the idea. His seat was booked by ship going. And then he became under the influence of Haji Sahib Turungzai, who was a very great revolutionary. And he had opted to live in the tribal belt so that the British should not be able to catch him early. And Badshah Khan became under his influence. He got the idea of Badshah Khan that we should have schools for the people, because in the earlier stages the mullahs were saying not to go to the schools run by the British. They had not done anything themselves. So he said that the nation will become an ignorant nation if they don't study. So their schools were called the Azad schools, Azad means Azadi, freedom. And they started opening their branches all over the place. And when this process was going on, the British sent for his father, Badshah Khan's father, to warn his son from resisting this spread of education. And then when his father told him, he said, no, I am going to do it, whether the British like it or not. And then he said, look, I feel like serving the people. For me, service of the people is like my prayer. Can you stop me from my prayer? He said, no. He said, then this is my prayer. So the father had to go and tell the British that my son doesn't listen to me. And they arrested him, Badshah Khan, with his father, and all the rest. And I have written in my book that it was very funny that one son was fighting the British battles in England during the First World War, and because they never took that into consideration, that his father is so and so, but because he was Bacha Khan's father also, they put him in jail. That also made Bacha Khan feel very funny, that one son was fighting for the British, and the same man becomes in a different capacity because Bacha Khan was younger brother, so he had to go later. Now these kind of things kept on influencing him.
Their concept of non-violence was a revolution of the mind, which captured people's imagination. They found it riveting.
Bacha Khan, my father, and Gandhiji were very, very close. We often used to see them sitting down closely, whispering to each other, talking to each other. They were so more or less, alike in their ideas, in the way they lived. So simple they were both. Their clothes, their food, everything were more or less the same.
Bacha Khan would read from the Quran, and sometimes he would forget his glasses and borrow Gandhiji's glasses to read the Quran. I used to think that they see eye to eye, that's why it doesn't matter whose glasses who is wearing.
I regard them as brothers in spirit, and that's how the subcontinent and indeed much of the world saw them. One an older man, the other much taller, much stronger, more towering figure, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. One a Muslim, the other a Hindu, both absolutely shoulder to shoulder in a fight for harmony.
And the only term we could coin was the frontier Gandhi, just as his term received from his countrymen is Badshah, which really means emperor.
You're very right. Badshah means, a king emperor. And for a very powerful man to have a mix of humility and kindness, it's a very rare quality. And therefore he was a Badshah not in the sense of sitting on a throne. He was a Badshah in the hearts of the tribal people of the northwest frontier above everything else.
His involvement grew steadily in the struggle for India's independence. He suffered several terms of imprisonment without losing cheer or confidence. For Pandit Nehru, he was a beloved comrade. For Bapu, a kindred soul. The two were inseparable during the difficult and dark time of partition. Badshah Khan played a most courageous role to stem the tide of communal carnage. Age and ill health did not deter the indomitable warrior. He remained till the end a man of incomparable majesty, Spartan, compassionate, and firm in his resolve to fight all injustice. He became the conscience of a troubled mankind.
He was living those days in Jalalabad in a small cottage which had been given to him by the Afghans in the years gone by, and he used to live there with just one companion. He disliked the man being called a servant, and he was called Haji Sahab. And Haji Sahab and Badshah Khan both used to sleep in a veranda, not inside a room, even at the height of winter. And I was absolutely amazed at the physical resilience of the old man, because he would not take too many blankets, and underneath him was always a khadi dari and a khadi blanket. And even the pillow was one of those rough, tough khadi things. He was a very saintly person to whom renunciation came very easily. He wasn't in very good health those days. He was having problem with his knees, both his knees, and he always called me Safir Saab. And he would turn around and say, Safir Saab, बहुत गड़बड़ हो गया, अब तो हमारा घुटना वजन नहीं लेता. And he would suddenly remember something, get someone, our consul general, to ring me up. And my instructions from Delhi were that when Badshah Khan calls you, give up everything, go to attend to him. Later he moved on to Kabul because of treatment, and one of our doctors was treating him. Still later, I was able to persuade him to come here. By that time I had been transferred from ambassadorship in Kabul to being additional secretary here. In those days I took instructions from the people leading the government. By this time I think Mr. Charan Singh had come into power, slightly later Mrs. Gandhi, and they were all equally mindful of his comforts. But with Mrs. Gandhi and her son, and later on her grandson, Badshah Khan had a very special relationship. He would off and on move from the All India Institute into Muhammad Yunus's house, and altogether we tried to give him an atmosphere of family. I got to know this great man, and I think one of the books which have come out on him, The Man as Tall as the Mountains. He really was a man as tall as the mountains, because here he was, a son of the soil of the frontier, a Pashtun, a Pathan to the core, a man who was a great literary creator in Pashto language. But when it came to deciding the philosophy according to which he wanted to lead his people, it was Khudai Khidmatgar. And in this, I found as time went by that his faith in Islam was a very major factor, but there was no fanaticism in it. The entire Islamic creed of love was what he personified.
मजहब उन्होंने पंडितों की तरह या मौलवियों की तरह नहीं ग्रहण किया. मजहब उनकी सांस में था. जिसे हम धर्म कहते हैं, वो परम धार्मिक पुरुष थे, जिसमें नफरत के लिए, बदले के लिए, किसी को तकलीफ पहुंचाने के लिए कोई जगह नहीं थी. पूरी मोहब्बत, पूरा प्रेम से सरोबार जो एक रास्ता होता है जीवन का, वो बादशाह खान का रास्ता. इसीलिए बादशाह खान के यहाँ कोई गैर मुस्लिम पराया नहीं था. कोई मुसलमान हो, गैर मुसलमान हो, सब खुदा के बंदे, सब अल्लाह के बेटे, और सबकी खिदमत करना उनका धर्म था. इसीलिए बादशाह खान के पीछे पठान ही नहीं गए. सारे पूरे हिंदुस्तान के लोग, किसी मज़हब के हों, किसी जाति के हों, सब उनके पीछे पीछे चलते थे. वरना कौन उनको सीमांत गांधी कहता, कौन उनको सरहदी गांधी कहता. महात्मा गांधी के बाद इतना ऊंचा खिताब मैं समझता हूँ और किसी हमारे मुल्क के बड़े नेता को नहीं मिला जो बादशाह खान को.
What remains are memories and an inspiration. Badshah Khan's legacy remains invaluable and immensely relevant to mankind poised on the threshold of the 21st century.
बादशाह खान सचमुच के बादशाह थे. बादशाहों के बारे में कहा जाता है कि उनके जैसा आत्मविश्वास किसी का नहीं होता. ये उनके बारे में बिल्कुल सच था कि वे आत्मविश्वास की प्रतिमूर्ति थे. और कहा भी है कि चाह गई चिंता मिटी, मनुआ बेपरवाह, जाको कछु न चाहिए,
वो सामने कैसा.
Well, that was the magic of his personality. God was very kind to him. He was a very impressive personality. And then he believed, and he said what he firmly believed in. It was not kind of just wayside activity. He realized it, then he just stuck to it. People kept on telling him all sorts of stories, but he was so so convinced about this ideology and this approach that he just couldn't fiddle around with it. There may be differences or anything minor, but he never allowed it to color this people's vision about this thing.